another interview of a teacher here at Gilbert High School. This is Shelley Leiser, English 9 instructor here. This is her third year here. We'll start off like I do most of the interviews here, and first give us a little background information about Shelley Leiser, where you're from, what your family does, where you went to school, and how you got here.
Okay. I went to South Tama. I was born in Tama and grew up, went to school there. All my family lives there. All my grandparents live there. Everybody lives there. And then I went to Simpson College.
Simpson, all right.
Yep, where I started as a biochemistry major.
And what sparked the interest in biochemistry in that? Because now you're in English. I don't see a correlation there.
I had a lot of orthodontics when I was in middle school, and I wanted to be an orthodontist.
Oh.
And so I was a biochemistry major for a semester, and then I decided I hated biology. I love chemistry. I'm actually really good at chemistry, but hated biology. And I was doing really well in my English classes at the time, and so it got switched to English and education.
So your interest in English didn't actually occur till college.
Yeah,
were you a good writer, reader, and all those things growing up?
Yeah, I was an okay writer, and I was a really good reader.
Yeah.
And I got into that route, and I graduated in 2008 from Simpson, and I went to I looked for jobs around the Des Moines area, teaching jobs. I also have an endorsement in theater and speech. So,
yeah, all right.
Yeah, so I did all that stuff, and I actually played volleyball for 2 years in college before switching and giving it up to theater.
Did you play volleyball in high school as well?
Mm-hmm.
And what other sports did you do in high school and activities?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, list them.
Sports, I was in volleyball, basketball, until my junior year. My junior year, I switched to dance team and speech instead of doing basketball. And then I did tennis and softball. I was on the varsity team 5 years in softball. I was not any good. We were just that bad.
But you got a varsity letter for 5 years. That's awesome.
I did. And then I was in concert band and marching band and concert choir and show choir and regular and a couple other choirs as well. And I did speech and both seasons of speech and all of the productions my junior senior year.
So the theater part of you is obviously apparent there. So
yeah.
Obviously were you involved in school plays and things like that?
Yeah, but not until my senior year.
Oh, really?
I actually had no interest in theater and stuff like that until my senior year.
Well, I didn't mean to diverge there, but
okay.
How big a school was South Tama compared to, like, say, where we are now, Gilbert, where we have about 100 kids?
We actually just passed them last year.
Oh, yeah?
When we were looking at the list. So they're 3 slots below us in size.
South Tama
currently, yep.
Right now. So roughly the same size as what you're experiencing.
Yeah, we're right about the same size now.
Yeah. So
about 100 kids per class on average.
That's cool. Where did you, prior to coming here, you taught somewhere else, then you were talking about getting jobs. Where was your first job?
My first job was at West Liberty High School, which is actually the only majority Hispanic school in the entire state. And so we were actually a dual language school, which is very cool. So when kids come in kindergarten, first grade, they can choose whether they want a dual language track or a regular track education. And if it's dual language, I think it's about every other day is taught completely in Spanish.
Seriously?
Yes.
That's cool.
So
especially
kids
in Iowa, there's not a ton of
kids actually
here.
graduate with bilingual degrees.
So they do that from basically elementary on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep,
that's
and
cool.
They graduated their first fully dual language bilingual class my last year there.
That's cool. How many years did you teach there?
Taught there 4 full years.
4 full years. So let's go back in time, the Wayback Machine, not way back for you. Mm-hmm. First day, first teaching job, first class with your first bunch of kids. What was your thought? What was your first thought when they walked in the door?
Well, this was a very rough school. We had 4 fights in the first 3 days of school.
All right. So
I
they had a boxing club?
I never had any. Yeah. I never had any in my classroom. I did have 2 girls who were about to fight, and I walked up between them, looked at the girl in my class, and said, "You are going to walk away right now." And then I went and got the principal, and he dealt with it. But it was a very kind of scary situation, and I walked in, and I expected them to know things that they had no idea on.
Your level of expectations was this, and they were somewhere in here.
Yeah, I mean, juniors in I taught all juniors when I was at West Liberty, in the accelerated class as well as the general ed class, and you expect them to be have written a paper before at the junior level, and
you would think so.
They hadn't at all, and it just kind of blew my mind. But there were in the English department, there were 4 teachers, and 3 of us were first-year teachers coming out of the classroom. Coming out of college.
So, and the other teacher was it?
She was senior level, and she was awesome.
Yeah.
Everything that I do now, I got from her.
How long had she been teaching there?
She had been teaching there for 3 or 4 years.
So she provided some guidance and help to you. So, yeah, I those first days when you actually get to do something, I can remember thinking after my first day, which was in a self-contained behavior disorders room, probably a lot like what you experienced.
Yeah.
I had 3 or 4 fights a day in my room. I often thought to myself, I don't know what there was I learned in school about managing a class. It's all learned there, and some days you have it and some days you don't. In your case, it was probably as much a constant battle to manage the classroom as it was to teach the content.
Oh yeah, I mean, and when you're talking about that particular culture as well, you know, you can't ask whether or not students are documented.
Yeah. No.
And so some of them really, their life goal is to hope that they will be able to get a job in this country.
Yep.
And that was it. And so who cares if they can research or if they can write or if they can read?
They're not
as
really
long as
worried
they can
about
put this
that.
bolt on this screw and it moves on. I mean,
they're not worried
it's
about those
perfectly
higher
fine.
order
Yeah.
things.
So what I found really difficult in that teaching situation is to come up with something that they were really interested in to the point where they did it was a huge accomplishment. I also learned that, you know, when you're raised well and your parents care, you actually respect seniority just because they're older than you.
Yep.
I mean, and that's it. And at that school district, that was not the case. And I told people a lot, and they never really understood it until they were in situations that were similar, that you had to work your way into a position where the kids actually respected you.
They respected you.
Because you respected them, and you had to constantly invest your time and your effort into things that they would be interested in. So I watched my husband play video games night after night after night so that I would understand all the common video games at the time.
So video games was a connection you could get with the kids.
I started getting into Iowa football because they were all really interested in Iowa
bad.
football.
You're over there on that part of the stadium.
Yes,
We'll
I mean,
you.
just things like that. And so I knew every player on the Iowa football team for 4 years.
And so another connection.
Yeah.
So it's more about making which is true
investing
everywhere
in
you
the
go.
students and their interests so that you could use that in your classroom, because you couldn't just go in and expect them to respect you just because of who you were. That
respect
was not there.
That you assume is given in certain cases was not there. Then what prompted you to move this way? You obviously saw an ad for Gilbert. Something said, okay, let's go look at it and see what happens. What was the driving force behind that? Just a new challenge, a new job, or family things? Or
Yeah, it was a family thing. So my husband, we actually met in our first full-length production at Simpson. He was in theater.
Cool.
And he was the lead role and I was lead female role, and that's how we met. And so we had dated for like 5 years, and so he graduated with a major in theater.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so he decided he wanted to go off to Chicago or something like that and try to make it. And it's funny because now he has no interest in doing anything theater related at all. And we moved over to the Iowa City area. Well, I was there for a year before he went. And then when he came and lived there with me after we got married, you know, there's not really anything to do for theater and stuff like that. So he was doing odd jobs in finance and stuff because he worked for ING when we were in Des Moines. And just had no interest in it and was looking for something else. So weirdly, he's now in Ag AMS, which is all of the GPS and computer stuff that goes into tractors now.
Yeah.
So he works for Van Wall Equipment.
So that job prompted you to look
yeah.
for something in this area.
So we wanted to move back this way because all of our friends from college and our family was over this direction. We were kind of
on the other side.
Yeah, way over there. And we travel a lot. I mean, driving an hour is not a big deal to us at all. But so he was looking for a job, and I said, you know, it was time for me to move for his career because we moved there for my career.
Sure.
And I was looking for jobs, and Gilbert just kept popping up. And at first, they wanted a master's in speech and theater, and I was going to be amazed if they were able to find it because people who have speech and theater don't have masters because they just do speech and theater. Yep. You know, it's not something you really get a lot of education for. And they had it, so I just didn't apply, and was applying to other places at the time. And it was early because I knew I was going to leave in like January. Right. And so I was going, and then they dropped the master's part on the
Of course,
description.
but couldn't find anybody.
Yeah, and so they dropped the master's part, and it's like, well, it keeps coming up. I need to probably apply for it.
There's something there. It keeps poking me.
It literally popped up in every single search I did.
Cool.
So we apparently.
So you felt kind of like
really
guided
well.
towards here, huh?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
That's cool.
So I applied, and within like a week, I heard from the school, and I had an interview at another school the day before I was interviewed here, and this all happened within 3 days.
Wow, that's cool. It's funny how things fall together there.
Yeah.
So you're here, 9th grade English, done a lot of, you've kept some of the old with the To Kill a Mockingbird, and I know you've done some things,
Yes.
which is, I think, is one of those great things about it. I don't think kids appreciate it as 9th graders as much until they get older in life.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's one of my favorite books, and it was because of being involved with helping out kids with 9th grade English.
Mm-hmm.
Third year here, that's kind of the reason I chose somebody that's been here a while. I've got Mrs. Peterson is a retiring teacher, and Mr. Barbier's last interview we have is going to be a new teacher.
Mm-hmm.
What are some challenges you see here as you go forward with the English department or 9th grade English in general? What are some ideas you have that think would be cool for the kids coming up?
Well, I feel like I'm constantly changing things, so I'm trying to go to more like a standards-based grading, which is totally doable in English because it's all skill-based. Trying to get just some unity across the board as far as what we expect for writing and citing and things like that, just so the kids are consistent.
9th grade to 10th grade.
9th grade to 10th grade, in the English department across disciplines, you know, just so that our expectations for our students are nice and high, and we have that growth mindset as far as the kids are constantly improving on these skills. But I'm excited because next quarter I'm going to, so we do reading first quarter, a lot of writing second quarter, third quarter is usually speaking and listening with some writing built in, and a little bit of reading as we kind of prepare for the Iowa assessments. And then I summatively assess everything in fourth quarter. That's where we get all of our major assignments. But next quarter I'm going to try really hard. We'll see if I have enough time to get this all figured out. But we're going to do an activity where the kids are going to, each class is actually going to be divided up into 3 or 4 political parties.
Awesome.
And they are going to select one person in their group that will be a running candidate for their party. And everything we do,
Awesome.
So we're going to do a series of debates, and we're going to do ads. They're going to create a website or what are you creating right now? What's it called?
This is really it's a flyer, but it's a website that looks like a when I get done, it kind of looks like a newspaper.
Yeah, like a newsletter.
But it's a flyer.
Yeah, so they can create one of those or something along those lines where they'll have to put their whole platform for their party.
Cool.
And they'll actually have to compete for their platform, for their ideas.
And at the end, will there be an election?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to have, like for extension for my students who are kind of go above and beyond, they actually get to compete to figure out who my electoral college is. So depending on the size of the class, there will be a certain number of votes that come out of each class, and those are my students who will actually help me run the whole thing, top to bottom. But the whole thing is going to last the entire quarter, and we're going to read articles.
Go from one activity to the next, but it all culminates in this election.
And so they're going to have to family feud it out for what side of the argument they want. So if it's cell phone use in schools, they all want cell phone use in schools. So in order to win that, they have to go up against another group, and whoever can provide the most facts and information on that topic gets to choose their side, and then the other side is stuck with
what they don't
want.
That's something new. This is new this year then. That's cool.
Yeah, it's brand new.
That's good to see.
But it's going to be quite the...
You're going to have a lot of fun over Christmas break getting it all filtered out.
Getting it all figured out, and then trying to find a way to get those students who are part of the electoral college to be a part of the development of the whole thing, to the point where they'll actually be the moderators or mediators, whatever the word is, of the debates. They'll come up with all the questions. They will, and essentially you're trying to win their vote. Yeah. So.
Well, I can see this. I can see this in my head. It's just a matter of how you're going to flesh out the details.
Yeah, how to make it all work.
We're about done here. Thank you for your time. You've talked about your husband and his work, but you have another addition to the family. Why don't you tell us how that's going?
I have Jax, so Jackson, Jaxon.
Jackson.
Jackson. And he is fantastic. This morning I sent him to the babysitter as Lumberjacks. He's in a nice little red plaid outfit.
Got a full beard too, or no?
My husband does, but he doesn't. And he's at that really fun, smiley, cooey kai phase. I actually have no pictures of him in here. I haven't updated my pictures since my first year of teaching.
Well, it's time to do that then, isn't it?
Yeah, I have a bunch on my phone. I just need to email them to myself and get some going.
That's cool.
But
is he sleeping through the night and
no.
all this? Not even close?
No. He did for a little while, and now we're trying to switch him back into like a crib or something, and it's not working. No.
Yeah, they don't like change, those little ones. They don't like change at all. So, but healthy and happy and all the good stuff.
He had a cold for like the whole first month of his life, but now he's
just loving life.
Yes, he's actually really fun to go home to now.
Well, thank you for your time, Ms. Leiser. This is going to go in the inaugural edition of the Gilbert Gazette here, which will be coming out as soon as I get done with my last interview. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your work with the students. And keep going with that. We may come back and visit you at the end of the quarter and see how that went with the Electoral College thing. Thanks.
Thank you.